Please be aware, in this podcast series we talk about all areas of safeguarding, which some people may find upsetting. So please make sure you're okay listening to today's topic. Be mindful of those around you, such as children, that you might not want to listen in. Hi, I'm SSS Safeguarding Director Sam Preston.
And I'm former head teacher and content author Sara Spinks.
Throughout our podcast series, we dive deep into important topics surrounding safeguarding, and today is no different. But today's topic, forced marriage, is not only a safeguarding issue, it's a human rights issue. So today we're exploring the various aspects of forced marriage, from recognition to legislation, and discussing ways to support those at risk. So I think let's start by defining forced marriage. It occurs when one or both parties are coerced into marriage without their full and free consent, often through physical or emotional pressure. And as I've said, this form of abuse infringes upon human rights and can take various forms, such as threats, violence, or psychological manipulation.
Absolutely. And it's essential, I think, to distinguish between forced and arranged marriages, as there can be confusion, which is unhelpful, really. So an arranged marriage, families may play a role in selecting a partner, but both individuals consent to the union. Forced marriage, on the other hand, lacks genuine consent from one or both parties.
Yeah, you're right, Sarah. It's an important distinction to make clear, and recognise individuals at risk, is crucial. So forced marriage isn't confined to specific cultures or countries. It can affect anyone, regardless of age or background. So, vulnerable groups, that might include those with disabilities, those within the LGBTQ plus community, and even children forced into marriage for various reasons.
And I think the statistics are alarming, with numerous cases reported globally each year. The Forced Marriage Unit, or FMU, handles cases from over 50 countries, highlighting the widespread nature of this issue. In fact, the FMU provided support and advice to 300 cases in 2022, with almost 1/3 affecting victims who were aged 17 or under. And after London, statistics show the West Midlands has the country's highest percentage of cases, with 17%. One of the main charities, that's dedicated to working with victims of forced marriage, Karma Nirvana, reported its National Honour-Based Abuse Helpline was contacted 9,616 times in the 22 to 23 year. However, campaigners say the true number of cases in the UK has been underreported, as some people were reluctant to approach authorities. The BBC recently reported that survivors of forced marriage fear cases will remain underground despite the new minimum age law that's been designed to crack down on children being married. And this is after the minimum legal marriage age in England and Wales was increased from 16 to 18 as part of the Marriage and Civil Partnership Minimum Age Act, which came into force in February 23.
Yeah, indeed. And the motives behind forced marriage are complex, from controlling sexuality to maintaining family honour or financial gain. There are various factors at play. Victims often face isolation and struggle to disclose their situation due to fear and lack of support.
And the impact doesn't end with the victims. Children within forced marriages also suffer. They're experiencing physical, emotional and social challenges. It's a cycle of abuse that perpetuates trauma across generations.
Yeah, absolutely. And escaping a forced marriage isn't easy. Victims often face significant barriers, from leaving behind their families and support networks to financial instability and fear of reprisal. We rely on our legislation to safeguard and protect against abuse. So, Sarah, can you tell us a little bit about the legislation with regard to forced marriage?
Well, legislation plays a crucial role in combating forced marriage. In the UK, it's considered a form of domestic abuse, with laws in place to protect victims and punish perpetrators. Recent changes, such as raising that minimum age of marriage, are steps in the right direction. Additionally, forced marriage protection orders provide legal safeguards for victims, offering immediate protection and recourse against offenders. Breaching these orders is a criminal offence, highlighting the severity with which forced marriage is treated.
So what are the penalties for those found guilty of forcing someone into marriage?
Well, the penalties can be severe, Sam. Perpetrators can face up to 7 years imprisonment under the law. Additionally, the recent Marriage and Civil Partnership Minimum Age Act, in 2022, raises the age of marriage and civil partnership in England and Wales from 16 to 18. And it's a significant step, I think, in protecting children from forced marriages.
So that's definitely a step in the right direction. What about Scotland? What measures are in place there?
Well, Scotland introduced the Forced Marriage Protection and Jurisdiction Act in 2011, aimed at providing protection against threats and pressure to marry without consent. Currently, planning a forced marriage is treated as a civil offence, but there are discussions about making it a criminal offence with increased penalties to align with both England and Wales.
Okay, so it's reassuring to see these efforts have been made across the whole of the UK. So what about prosecution? How does the Crown Prosecution Service handle cases of forced marriage?
Well, the Crown Prosecution Service is responsible for deciding which offences a perpetrator should be prosecuted for. And this includes a range of offences beyond forced marriage, such as fear of provocation of violence, assault, kidnapping, and even murder.
And we also have the protections available by the work of the Forced Marriage Unit, don't we? So that's something I think that we should highlight, what their role is, Sarah.
Yeah, well, the Forced Marriage Unit, the FMU, was established in 2005, and it leads the government's policy on forced marriage, as well as providing support and guidance to professionals and victims alike. And they can provide safety advice. They can assist when an unwanted spouse is due to move to the UK. That's called a reluctant sponsor cases. And where possible, assist in the repatriation of victims held against their will overseas.
Yeah, and I think it's also important to highlight that the FNU can provide advice and assistance both before and after a person makes a report to the police, and also to a person if they choose not to report at all.
Yeah, and let's not forget the role of multi-agency collaboration. Professionals across various sectors, including education, health and law enforcement, must work together to identify and support victims. Training and awareness are really key to keeping forced marriage on that sort of safeguarding radar.
That's absolutely right, Sarah. I mean, recognising warning signs and indicators, crucial for early intervention. And, we just need to keep these things on our radar, things like changes in behaviour to unexplained absences. Professionals must remain vigilant and offer support when needed.
Indeed. And while supporting victims, maintaining confidentiality, it's paramount. Given the lengths families may go, into tracing them, it's a delicate balance, between protecting victims and ensuring their safety.
Yeah. Sadly, forced marriage often intersects with other forms of abuse, such as honour-based violence, which we'll be covering in another podcast. And, that adds another layer of complexity to this issue. But I hope, we've covered, and there's some valuable insight into forced, understanding forced marriage and the efforts underway to combat it. If anyone listening has a concern about or is affected by forced marriage, support is available through contacting the FMU. And I'll just give you that number. It's 020 700 80151. Or you can contact them through their website. You can also contact the police or anonymously by contacting Crime Stoppers either through their website or by calling 0800 555 111.